Until now, after 300 years, the Becket family are still white. They didn't mix them. That's because there is a system of value to respect until now. That's the reason why all the white family stay white, and you could see how the children are blonde.
That sense of cultural superiority is impregnable. To counter it, Aimé Césaire persuaded the government to sell him this old colonial building. He turned it into a kind of people's art college where anyone could study for free. It was to be an antidote to European values. Previously, this was a hospital for Napoleon's soldiers, wounded in one of their endless battles with the British.
Bon. Et la salle où vous êtes n'était pas autre chose que la salle d'opération pour les chirurgiens militaires. C'est fantastique. Alors, après la chute de Napoléon III, ce lieu est resté une caserne. Et c'est nous qui avons racheté à l'armée, nous avons racheté cet endroit et nous en avons fait un centre culturel.
There's no escaping the fact that these students have had an entirely European education.
Là, c'est une reproduction.
J'aime beaucoup Salvador Dali.
Vous voyez, alors là, l'impressionnisme, hein, et ici, il est surréaliste. Oui. Et il vous manque une moustache, cher ami. Bon, voici le plus jeune élève de l'atelier. Il a 13 ans, et il y a une particularité, il est sourd-muet. C'est ça. Alors, il est extrêmement gentil. Alors là, il s'initie à la sculpture sur bois. Voilà.
What's important to Césaire is that they should shake off France and search for their own cultural roots.
Pas n'importe quel centre culturel. On a voulu faire un centre culturel vraiment martiniquais. Nous sommes très fiers, car ce centre culturel, on peut dire que c'est une invention martiniquaise.
It was this assertion of otherness that led Césaire and his friends to formulate the idea of négritude.
Il m'a semblé que le fondement même de l'identité était ce que j'ai appelé la négritude. C'était le fond africain. Et c'est le fond africain qui me semble être le trait qui permet d'unir tout le monde caribéen.
The concept of negritude spread like wildfire among blacks all over the world, particularly among black Frenchmen, whose need to feel different, unique, black, was most strong. No event symbolizes that otherness more vividly than the carnival. There are few poor areas in Martinique today, but this is one of them. It's a matter of great pride to this neighborhood that their band is considered the best in the island. They've been practicing for weeks, and now the musicians are gathering at the starting point. The rhythms are traditional and African. It's become a tradition of the Martinique Carnival for revelers to turn up in hot rods built from discarded French cars. These devil masks have an older tradition. Césaire told us how he was visiting his friend Senghor, president of Senegal, during their carnival, when he saw something which amazed him.
Et brusquement, je vois déboucher d'un sentier un masque extraordinaire. Et je reconnais en lui le masque du carnaval martiniquais. Le grand masque rouge et avec le costume constellé de miroirs juxtaposés était d'une beauté et d'une splendeur extraordinaire. Alors un cri s'échappe ma gorge, je dis comment? Vous l'avez, vous aussi? Comme un Sénégalais me répond, comment nous aussi? Mais c'est notre masque. C'est peut-être que dans le carnaval qu'on retrouve les derniers derniers vestiges de la religion africaine.
For all the huge cultural differences between the various Caribbean islands, they have one thing profoundly in common.
Lorsque j'étais à Cuba, lorsque j'étais en Haïti, lorsque j'étais à Trinidad, et à plus forte raison à Sainte-Lucie, et à Dupalici ou à la Dominique, j'ai retrouvé le même fond, j'ai retrouvé le même folklore, et j'ai retrouvé la même tendance religieuse.
The students of the art college are out in force.
C'est le CERMAT, c'est le service d'action culturelle de la ville.
Césaire has been guiding the fortunes of this small island for over 45 years.
Je connais les défauts et les qualités de mon peuple et parfois, bien sûr, en tant qu'administrateur, je trouve qu'il me donne beaucoup de mal. Mais peu importe les défauts, je sais que l'histoire a souvent été très dure pour eux. Et c'est un peuple que j'aime, je peux dire, plus que profondément. C'est un peuple que j'aime viscéralement. Il y a cette joie de vivre.
No race has a monopoly on beauty, intelligence, or strength. Suddenly now, strength and light assail me like a bull. All the veins and veinlets are bursting with new life. My negritude is not a stone, its deafness hurled against the clamor of the day. Your entire being liquefies into sounds, voices, and rhythm, and everyone lives as if in a dream, and drinks and shouts and sings as in a dream. What strange pride suddenly fills me.
Under the volcano is the Depar's distillery. The estates once produced sugar for all of France. Now it's confined to producing the raw material for their own branded rum. When it comes to business, there's no time to dwell on the legacies of the past. This factory is André Depaz's hope for the future. Already it produces around 650,000 litres of rum. Next year, he hopes to expand. His father brought the magnificent steam engine which drives the factory from the Palace of Versailles. French subsidies and a protected French market have served the family business well. But will they last? In Martinique, 1992 isn't the great Columbus year. It's the year they all start worrying about their future. 1992 is the end of trade barriers in Europe. Jean-Luc Aigard wants his pupils to understand how it could affect them.
Part of Europe. Your generation, since you are 18, 19 years old, will be the one to be on the job market in 1992, and therefore you will be in direct competition with those highly educated Europeans for the jobs in Martinique.
It's the other side of the coin. Being French citizens means these Caribbean youngsters are competing in a market defined in another continent. They're already feeling the first side effects. Island for sale, they sing, as land prices are being driven up by demand from rich Europeans. And whose land is it, anyway?
We are French, but we are not French. You know, we are American, but we are not American. We are European, but we are not European.
Nous passons devant le volcan pelé. N'ayez pas peur, les éruptions sont contrôlées. Pour la sécurité, toutes les falaises ont été bétonnées. Serpents, anesthésiés, cyclones, définitivement détournés.
Right now there is lots of speculation, you know. People, they just sell lands, you know, and get the money under the table, you know, because it's just a big business and people want to take very big advantage of the situation.
An island have to stay an island. So since I live here, since I was baby, I see what they do, and they take all the place, natural place to put concrete jungle.
But I believe when my grandparents, you know, like accept to be French, they didn't think that they would be European, you know.
$12,000 tons of bananas go through this shed each year. The packers get French wages, André de Paz gets his profit. But the good times are catching up with Martinique.
We had a golden age for banana, last 10 years. But we are worried about the future in common market because Latin America produce bananas, the same bananas, half the price because the wage, we support the same wage in Martinique than in Europe. Instead of Latin America, where the wage are 15 times less than ours. People they have car now, they have everything, they have refrigerators, they have a washing machine, all they need, and that's a good thing.
That's the paradox Martinique must wrestle with. Caribbean crops decreed by nature, European living standards decreed by law. The chances of keeping on all 300 workers next year are not good. Already, over half the young people under 25 are unemployed.
L'Europe, les frontières sautent, il n'y a plus de marché protégé, et n'importe quel produit n'a qu'à arriver par l'Allemagne ou par l'Italie, il envahit, comme il n'y a plus de barrières entre ces pays-là, il peut très bien arriver en France, et il n'y a pas de raison pour que la banane martiniquaise, par exemple, trouve place sur le marché même français. Donc nous risquons de tout perdre et par conséquent la Martinique ne sera plus qu'une terre de consommation, c'est qu'elle est déjà, et ce ne sera plus une terre de production. Nous consommerons la production des autres, mais nous ne produirons plus rien. Et nous ne produirons rien parce que tout ce que produit la Martinique peut être produit ailleurs, et même pas très loin de nous, à des conditions économiques infiniment meilleures, parce que les salaires sont beaucoup plus bas.
A small but growing number of people feel it's time for the French islands to cut themselves off from the hand that's fed them for so long.
The amount of money which comes directly from France is in fact a way to kill any kind of imagination, any kind of initiative from the population. When you receive money to stay at home, it's quite clear that you will not feel like going into the fields or going on your boat, even though you own the techniques which might allow you to produce and survive by yourself.
Ending the French connection would mean less wealth, he agrees, but a greater sense of reality.
Sure, it is true that in terms of our standard of living, we have a much higher standard of living than Dominica or St. Lucia or the other Caribbean island. Our standard of living is totally artificial. Either we keep on accepting the money and producing nothing, or we decide to have a very slight drop in the standard of living of a minority and take our responsibility for our future and for our children.
But few would agree that a drop in the standard of living would affect only a minority. Even Césaire looks for a middle way.
Moi, personnellement, je suis pour le maintien de l'ensemble français, mais pour une autonomie dans cet ensemble, j'accepte l'association à l'Europe, mais à condition que soit respectée une autonomie martiniquaise et les spécificités martiniquaises. L'indépendance risque de nous créer plus de problèmes que nous ne pourrons en résoudre. Voilà ce que je pense. C'est tout. C'est tout.
There are 7 hospitals in Martinique, and this is the main one. People come here from all over the Caribbean.
A very modern brain scan machine, the equal of any in Europe, and part of very advanced medical facilities available to ordinary Martinicans in a public hospital like this. And that's Martinique's dilemma. As a consequence of the French connection, she can get access to facilities and equipment which most of the other Caribbean islands can't afford. But in the process, some Martinicans feel that they're being sucked more and more into a cultural identity which just isn't them. But if you look around here, wouldn't you say that the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? As a small island without a viable local economy, wouldn't taking its distance from France simply mean for Martinique becoming more dependent on some other big power like the United States? Identity always has a price tag, and the question is, what price would Martinicans pay not to be French? The truth is, that's the question most Martinicans would prefer not to have to answer.
It was an odd feeling walking around the harbour at Fort-de-France. As a Jamaican, I'm the sort of person Martinicans are said to look down on. Les Anglais, the unfortunate fellows from the English islands. Les Anglais, for their part, both envy and pity the French islands. It's one thing to be rich, but how can their pride allow them still to be under the French flag after all these years? André Depaz's dream is that his sons will return one day to run the estate.
I have 2 sons, and when they will prove in their business they are doing, perhaps I will interest them in the plantation.
But at the moment, they're doing well in America. And he knows that the one thing that would kill the business and his dream is ending the link with France. For people like José, independence is barely worth discussing. They don't want to gamble everything away on a political theory, so any change will be slow.
Deux tambours s'appelait Nouf Nouf. Pour ce farceur, ce bout de entrain.
And for Sabine, the Gaullist fisherwoman, things are even simpler.
Je priais notre Père, je vous salue, je crois en Dieu. Je demande à Dieu de me faire traverser la mer, de me donner à boire et à manger. Ça dépend le temps pour aller mettre le filet, ou demander à Dieu de me donner du poisson. La mer, comme je dirais, c'est une plante pour moi. Oui, la mer, c'est une plante pour moi. La mer, c'est un fruit pour moi.